economies are rising and falling, and global alliances are being tested like never before. But what does it all mean for you?
With a new administration and a new president in the White House trying to put an end to the war.
I didn't know the historical context, what the state of Israel means for them.
Join the fearless Ireti Bakare-Yusuf on Borderlines every Friday at 4 p.m. on Nigeria Info 99.3 as she dissects the biggest global events and their impact on world peace.
Those who are not familiar with Israel or the war itself would not know much about the group breaking the silence.
No spin, no propaganda, just deep insights and fearless conversations on the geopolitics shaping our world.
People who will call and start telling you about the Bible prophecy about America and everything. See, America is not in the Bible.
There's some people who, yes, they share the ideology of, yes, we and these people, we are equal, but they can't speak up.
Borderlines on Nigeria Info every Friday at 4 p.m. The world is changing. Don't just watch, understand it. Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
And it's a good afternoon again. Lagos, Nigeria, the diaspora, wherever you're listening to us from. My name is Ireti Bakare-Yusuf. Welcome to Borderlines, the only show that takes you beyond borders. Indeed, arguably, one of the most important events, episodes that's happened in contemporary times in Africa was the assassination of President General Muammar Ghadaffi. Well, last week, in fact, before I go to last week, since his assassination, we're all aware of what has happened to Nigeria and indeed West Africa. Now, Libya, as you all know, has not settled down. But we continue to talk about Libya, and indeed, when we've had guests, Libyan guests on our show, his former spokesperson, Dr. Ibrahim, has told us about how several of his contemporaries, that's Gaddafi's contemporaries, let him down. Those who should have spoken when he was assassinated did not speak. Indeed, those who should have spoken when he was alive did not speak. But we roll on despite the unstable environment in Libya. They were working towards a democratic system. Indeed, there was to be an election. And one of the main, or perhaps the most popular candidate who was set to be the next president of Libya is General Ghadaffi's son, Saif Ghadaffi. Well, last week he was assassinated, I believe by 10 men. Today, we're going to be talking about Saif Ghadaffi. We're going to be talking about Libya. We're going to be talking about what is next for Libya. Indeed, how this impacts what's going on in Africa, in West Africa, across globally, but of course, what the changes we are seeing in the world. Who can we hold responsible for the assassination of Saif Ghadaffi? Today I have with me, he's new, but we're happy to have him. We would have had him last week, but he had to attend the funeral. He's a fellow journalist, he's an award-winning journalist. His name is Dr. Mustafa Fetouri. Dr. Mustafa or Dr. Fetouri, which do you prefer? Welcome to Borderlines. Indeed, welcome to Nigeria, should I say.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be with you again after a long break, and I really enjoy appearing in African TV, radio stations, much better than being in any Western station for that matter.
Indeed. I mean, indeed, because this, if we can't continue to talk about what's going on in our continent amongst ourselves, then what is the point? And we journalists hold it, it's our responsibility to actually continue to raise the awareness and platform what's happening in our continent. So talk to us, tell us, take us in the background about Saif al-Islam Ghadaffi.
Well, Dr. Saif al-Islam al-Ghadaffi, who was assassinated, as you mentioned last week, on February the 3rd by four masked gunmen who broke into his residence, and it took only a few seconds after they reportedly disabled the security cameras, and for somehow the security missed them, and they shot him while he tried to defend himself. He shot back also, according to some reports. As a person, he has been quite, an interesting fellow over the last 20 years, including the last 10 years of his father's regime, which was toppled through a military intervention led by France and, of course, the entire NATO alliance. I would say he was a very modest person and easy talking, easy going. He started out on the international stage in the early 90s as a painter, actually, and managed to hold very interesting exhibitions in London, in New York, and Brussels, and I think also in Johannesburg at the time, most likely in 95 or 97, if I remember correctly. And then at the time, he was studying for his PhD at the prestigious London School of Economics, where he managed to finish his studies and gained the PhD degree over a project that's called Libya, Tomorrow's Libya. And that project happened to become his kind of political manifesto, if you like, when he came back to the countries in the late 1990s. He started out as a charity. He started charity foundation that used to be called Ghadaffi Foundation, International Charity Foundation, and through that foundation, which was funded by not by the government, but by private donations and private both individuals and companies inside Libya and outside. Through that foundation, he managed to free many Western hostages in the Philippines and elsewhere, including in Peru, I believe. And he tried to mediate the troubled relationship between Libya at the time and the West. And he was pretty successful in that, task, and he managed to normalize relations between Libya and the outside world. And Libya at the time was just emerging from international and American sanctions imposed in the countries for decades over, because Libya was accused of all sorts of things, including supporting terrorism, including supporting the late Nelson Mandela and NAC and people like that, and cherishing the kind of people in Africa, such as the late Patrice Lumumba and many others. And in 2011, when the intervention by NATO countries started bombing Libya in March 2011, under the pretext of protecting civilians, allegedly by Western media, of course, they were a kind of uprising against Gaddafi regime, his father's regime, and the Western main powers, the United States and France, and as well as the UK, led the charge against Libya and managed to pressure the Security Council, the United Nations Security Council, to pass Resolution 1973, which allowed literally the invasion of Libya to protect, as they say, claim civilians who are freely demonstrating. And of course, there's a lot of hyper talk about that, and there's a lot of fabrication and the stories that made the headlines at the time, like the 10,000 people died in the first 2 weeks, and 8,000 women raped, and all kind of stuff you can imagine in order to dehumanize Gaddafi himself as well as the regime. And 15 years later, we know that none of that was true. Most of it was just a fabricated lie used as a pretext to get the international community or the international public opinion to support the military intervention, which had only one aim. That aim was to get rid of Gaddafi, the father, because of what he represents, as well as subdue Libya to become again a Western puppet. During that time, Saif was on the side of the Libyan people. He stayed in the country. He could have fled out and he could have saved himself, but he decided to stay. And he said that many times publicly that he will live there, live in Libya and die in Libya, just like his father did. And his father got, him and his father also got many offers from Muslim countries to leave the country, and they rejected them all, and he stayed. After 8 months of bombardment, non-stop bombardment, 24 hours a day, the regime collapsed, and of course, the so-called freedom fighters, rebels, took over the country, and we ended up in a kind of mess that you can never imagine happening in Libya. Saif al-Islam was captured by one of the militias in southwestern Libya as he tried to leave the country after the regime collapsed and after his father has been assassinated on 20th of October. I think he was captured something like over 50 days later. After a brief fight, well, a long fight actually, he put up in the city of Bani Walid, where he was buried a few days ago. And since his capture, he was accused of all sorts of crimes, and the militia that captured him in the western city of Zintan, southwest of Tripoli, about 300 kilometers from here, refused to hand him over to any authority in Libya because they were not sure that he will have a fair trial in Libya. And
Right.
yet he was tried via video link, and he was investigated and questioned and all this. And he ended up, convicted of war crimes without specification what the war crimes were, and he was sentenced to life to death, by firing a squad. And then the Libyan parliament, sometime in 2015, adopted the general amnesty law in Libya. I believe it's law number 15, 2015. And that law actually was aiming to bring about and facilitate reconciliation among the Libyans. And Saif al-Islam benefited from that law, and he was kind of rehabilitated. He's not fugitive anymore, but is still wanted by the International Criminal Court in The Hague. And because that legal hurdle inside the country, according to the Libyan law, penal law code, he was cleared, and he was allowed by the courts in Libya to register and contest the 2021 elections. And he was seen the main candidate, and he was about to win the elections in December 2021, when all of a sudden, under pressure from the United States, United Kingdom, and France, the election commission in Libya decided to hold the elections at the last, I think, about 10 days or 15 days before voting day. without any clear reason why the commission did that. And we later on we learned it was pressure from the Americans as well as the British and the French, because they were certain that Saif al-Gaddafi, will win the elections, which is something they cannot stomach, they cannot accept, simply because it means what they did in Libya was wrong.
Thank you. Thank you for laying out that framework for us, because we can then move on from there. And I hope you've all been listening. You will be able to call 0201 277 0993, 0201 465 7190, or you can send your messages, questions for Dr. Fetouri on 0809 597 5805. So let's talk about one of the things that is commonly said about Saif Gaddafi is that he was a unifier. Why was he a unifier? What made him so popular?
Well, first of all, of course, he inherited the family name from his father. That's one thing. The second thing is that he was, despite the fact that he did not have any official government position under his father's rule, he was quite popular because he talks to people, he communicates with people, and he adopts a lot of kind of public agenda for different cities and different people, groups, and he was very accessible to all kinds of people inside the country and outside as well. That's one thing. The other thing that made him quite popular, he's young and he's very open-minded, and he criticized the government of his father many times because he saw the people who criticizing this thing or that thing, and he joined them. And the most important thing probably about him is that all the governments that took power in Libya after 2011 have generally failed to produce anything, to make any advancement, to be successful in any kind of project, let alone national reconciliation. And I'm saying that because we already had, between 2011 and today, we had something like 7 or 8 governments, before the countries being divided up under 2 different administrations. Since 2014. Nowadays, we have a government in Tripoli and another one unrecognized by anybody in Benghazi. And throughout this period of the troubles, and when more people became kind of very poor in Libya, and the very few became very rich because of embezzlement and their access to the public funds, as well as lack of security, he was not part of the scene. He was not part of the political scene in the country. He never fought any war after 2011. Okay. He never organized any militia. Okay. And that gave him a credit with the people that says he's not a man of war. He's a man of peace and reconciliation. Besides that, his father's regime actually, even when deposed by the intervention of NATO, was actually very popular. Unlike the propaganda messages you receive and you hear from the West, actually, until today, Gaddafi, the late Gaddafi himself, the father, is still today a popular figure.
Thank you. You wrote in your recent article, over the last 2 weeks, a coordinated campaign of incitement emerged from a very few specific individuals within Zintan. Local power brokers, well known who began questioning his presence, while such voices were not necessarily representative of the town's general sentiment. Facebook acted as a massive amplifier, making a few ripples of discontent look like a tidal wave of local recognition. You went on to say, simultaneously, Tripoli-based influencers began cross-posting these narratives, framing Saif not as a guest under protection, but as a liability to the town's future and a hurdle to the national elections. Who are these groups that you're talking about?
Well, it actually started by very few individuals within Zintan themselves, a couple of influencers on social media, including one who used to be very close to Saif and then for some reason turned against him by the name Ahmed Shatar, and a couple of others. And then it was propagated, the message against him was propagated over social media through bots, electronic bots, and of course through groups in Tripoli, because they stand to benefit from having him leave the political scene. I'm not sure, according to my investigation and research for that particular article you just read exhibits from, I did not find any confirmed information to indicate that any of those influencers or any of those leading public opinions, if you like, in Zintana or outside, actually wanted him dead or actually incited others to kill him. I did not find any of that, and I doubt it. But somehow the message got across to the very few. But what made it look like a national campaign or something, even at the level of the city of Zintan itself, is actually social media, through propagating and resending and resharing the same content. You make people believe that message you are trying to get across, and that's what happened. And I happened to visit him in Zintan something like a month before he was assassinated, to meet him for the first time in the last 15 years. It was a very secret meeting, secret visit, of course, but now I'm free to talk about it. And I did not actually notice anything unusual about him. He was very relaxed, very sportive body, very kind of open-minded, smiling all the time, telling jokes, and he was very little concerned about his security, which I really noticed from the moment I got to him. It was only just a couple of civilians, armed civilians, with him all the time, and that's not the kind of level of security you would expect around somebody like him. And later on, I found out after I came back from the visit, I checked here and there, and I found out that he actually refuses to have large security details around him to protect him.
Which is curious, because I must interrupt you because we're fast running out of time. You'll be surprised. Which is curious because I saw that in your article. So he clearly didn't feel threatened. Who then would want to assassinate him? I mean, some have implied that it might be international groups, or is it a combination of international and local groups?
Well, it's, to answer that question, you really have to say who would benefit, who stands to benefit from having him pushed out of the political scene. And the simple answer to that, almost everybody. I mean, all those political actors, political entities that sprang up in the country after 2011, militia leaders, and you name it. All of them stand to benefit from having Saif al-Islam disappear, simply because the man is going to win any election in the future as well. If there is any election with him alive contesting it, say for the next 10 years, he will win it again and again. Fair and honest elections. But I wouldn't really go as far as accusing international powers of having to do with his assassinations. However, I would not discount that. And I would not be surprised if the investigations tomorrow or next week or next month turn out and tell us that, well, indeed, there were some kind of foreign secret service behind his assassinations that used local culprits and the criminals to kill him. I wouldn't be surprised in that case. So you have this individual and queues of other people inside Libya and outside Libya would really like to see him disappear. And unfortunately, because of his disinterest in security, he made it very possible.
Indeed. So here we are now. May his soul rest in peace. What's next then for the future, if you like, the political future of Libya? Indeed, is there plans to now revisit the election calendar? Will a new one be planned? Is there a successor to Saif? As he is a successor to his father.
Well, these are two separate issues. What is, if there is any successor to him, or I think his supporters, commonly known as the Greens, because of the green flag and their association with the Green Jamahiriya under his father, they are working in that. I'm quite sure. I think we still have to have some time and wait for it to materialize. I think they are trying to organize themselves and kind of have a publicly endorsed figure to represent them. There's already a discussion about having his brother, Dr. Muhammad, who lives in Oman, or his sister Aisha, who also lives in exile in Oman. Both of them are very loved by the people of Libya. They have never been in government before, and they are not accused of anything. They are just living there for their safety because they left before the regime collapsed, and they are staying there because they have no guarantee for their security in Libya, especially after what happened to their brothers. So there is this talk that either of them might be, a candidate for any election, but I'm not sure the late Ghadaffi family will accept that, because this particular family has gone through too much so far over the last 15 years, extremely too much, a lot of pain, a lot of agony, a lot of suffering. So his supporters, trying to figure out what can be done and what kind of personality they are seeking. But we have to wait and see if any of the Ghadaffi children, like Dr. Aisha or Dr. Muhammad, will accept the position, which I really doubt. But it's the big question mark, if you like. The other side you asked about, or the other issue you asked about in the same question, is the future of the country. Well, I'm very sorry to say it will not be very rosy future. The United Nations has launched the 10th or 15th dialogue among the Libyans over the last 15 years or so. And the UN Commission in the country is trying to reach some kind of political settlement, and a compromise between the different parties, including the armed militias, who does not recognize any government, any of the two governments, one in Tripoli or in Benghazi, and they are not under control of anybody. And the way the United Nations mission proceeding with the dialogue so far, I'm not very optimistic about it, that it will materialize. Even now Saif is gone, because they used to say, not the UN, but the different political figures and parties in Libya, they used to say, he's the problem. Well, now he's gone. Let's see if you can organize fair and open elections to anybody. I doubt that,
Thank you. Let's talk about the impact on, the region. What has been the response from, regional countries, even Nigeria? You've got the Sahel, you have Egypt, etc. What has the response been, and what sort of consequence do you think this is going to have on, the region which is not even settled?
Well, let me disclose to you a bit of information, is not public yet, and tell you that most of these countries, most of the regional countries, including Algeria and Egypt, already have been in touch with Saif al-Islam, however, secretly. They did not want to talk to him openly. That's one thing. The other thing, he's not the pariah person, rejected person he used to be, like 2015 or 2013 or 2014, simply because he's part of the UN process. And he's represented by a team of individuals in the process of the UN since 2017, simply because the United Nations, as well as the big powers in the region, as well as the international powers, realized that there is no settlement in Libya. There would be no peace in Libya if you exclude the Greens, who are his supporters, his public base. So that's, having said that, I am not sure that any of the regional countries have already calculated what the impact of his assassination will be on Libya itself in the long run. That will enable them to see the risks for the neighboring countries like Algeria, Tunisia, and Egypt, of course, as well as deeper in Africa, Niger and Mali, and all the way to Nigeria. I'm not sure that any of the security apparatus in these critical countries who are surrounding Libya have yet understood the full impact of his assassination inside Libya. Of course, when you have trouble in Libya, the trouble will spread out, and we have seen it in 2011. What happened afterwards?
And this was going to be my next question, because the moment many decry what happened to General Ghadaffi today. Albeit people took it for granted because, of course, nobody knew what he was actually doing to keep the region safe. Now here we are in Nigeria, we have humongous problems with terrorism, and indeed the Western countries, if you like, certainly right now, we have the United States slowly creeping into Nigeria, into the region, although you have the three Sahel states pretty much trying to standing tall and against. What are your thoughts on that? Because if Libya is not settled, can we truly expect the rest of the Sahel and West Africa to settle?
No, unfortunately, no. You cannot. First of all, Libya, in terms of geography, when you look at the African map, it sits at the mouth of Africa and the north, and it's the route for almost everything, for weapons, for drugs, for you name it, for illegal migrants, and all these troubles. And it's very big country, it's very huge country in terms of surface area, very difficult to police, and the borders. And Gaddafi was successful in policing the borders, but after something like 20 years in power, he managed to do that. What do we expect deeper in Africa? For instance, in the Sahel region, I don't think the Sahel countries, especially the three Sahel countries, will be in a bad shape unless they go under the hammer of the Western powers, like the United States start bombing them or something, or France, or one of these criminal countries, former colonial powers, want to control them. But unfortunately, their security will be a quite contested issue. It will not be easy to secure these countries as long as Libya is not settled. I think at some point the African collect, the African Union, will realize how critical security and settlement in Libya is, and it will come forward to play a more active role. The African Union and a couple of African countries like Zimbabwe and Guinea and the Congo as well, already active in the Libyan fight. But I think what transpires in Libya in the next couple of years probably will push the African Union to be more effective, more active in playing a role in settling the Libyan issue. And unfortunately, the Libyan issue, when it comes to political compromises, for example, and heading to elections and letting the Libyan people decide for themselves whose their government would be, it will not be a quite easy thing to do, simply because those in power now, who have been in power for the last 15 years or so, even though they were not elected, or they were elected for a single term of 4 years, they are still there. They don't want to leave. So we might see some kind of African pressure on those guys, on those entities to renew legitimacy through elections. And for that, for the African Union, for example, to impose something on this, like this, and those troublemakers, if you like, legitimate political leaders, probably they would have to use some kind of more effective pressure, like threat of power, or maybe support by Western countries who are really seriously interested in settling Libya, like Italy, except for the other countries, of course.
Thank you. Right, I'm coming to your calls. I know some of you have been calling throughout this conversation. 0201-277-0993, 0201-465-7190. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, it's okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First of all, yeah, thank you. I like to address the first head of the Transitional National Fund Council that ousted Ghadaffi, Mustafa Abdul-Jalil. First of all, where is he now?
Okay.
And why did he fail in that regard? Then number two, Saif and Islam raised the allegation against Nicolas Sarkozy, who eventually got to the jail for collecting bribe from Ghadaffi. Does that have any link to his death? I'm talking of international conspiracy now.
Thank you very much. Great questions. You have two questions there, but I've got to answer more calls. One question is, where's Mustafa Al-Jalil? Secondly, Saif gave information which led to the prosecution of Nicolas Sarkozy. Do you think that could have any impact or any bearing on the assassination? I'll be with you. Please write that down, sir. I'll be with you in a second. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name? Where are you calling from, please?
Williams calling from Abuja. Here.
Go ahead, Williams. Your question very quickly.
I want to have. We have another faction of faction of political deity in Tripoli, or have the other one Benghazi. Which of them is being recognized? Can you hear me?
Thank you. So you want to know which of the political factions, Tripoli or Benghazi, which is recognized? Thank you.
Which of them is being recognized?
Thank you.
How many rebel are waiting in Tripoli? Because
you mean how many rebel groups?
Yeah, rebel group.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I think you heard that, and I'll answer this next one and then come to you. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Auntie Ireti.
Go ahead. What's your name? Where you calling from, please?
Yeah, this is Mazi DA1.
Go ahead, Mazi.
Calling you from Matogo.
Okay, what's your question, please?
Now, the question is, those people that are now militant in Libya, are they foreigners?
Right.
Are they not from Libya?
Okay.
Why should your father's enemy give you gun to kill your father, and you kill your father willingly, and here we are blaming the man's enemy?
Okay, so I need you to speak directly. What is your question? All these parables.
The question I want to, Amani Boma, so we eat well.
I get it. I understand.
So the question I want to ask your guest is this: why should Libyans pick guns against themselves and the people in the country are blaming the Western power for the fault of the indigenous of Libya.
Thank you very much. Right. Doctor, I'm going to give you 2 minutes because we don't have time anymore. It's gone fast and the lines are still going. Can you answer all of those questions as quickly as possible in 2 minutes? Excellent.
Okay, let me try to start with Mr. Abdul Jalil. He's nobody now. He was a puppet of the west of France, of Sarkozy specifically. He used him and threw him away because he's not useful anymore. He's not a political leader. He's not a publicly respected figure, not even socially in terms of tribes. So that's out. He's not contesting any elections, and he does not enjoy any kind of support, public support in the national level. For the Sarkozy conviction, of course, Saif al-Islam contributed quite a lot of material and information that led to the conviction of Sarkozy and his brief imprisonment, but he is still a kind of in prison, but in his house because of his age and all this kind of thing, and being former president and so on. Briefly, I don't want to go into details of that. Which government is recognized? Of course, the United Nations government. The United Nations recognizes only the government in Tripoli, and so does most of the countries around the world. And the government in Benghazi is not recognized by anybody. And I did not catch the last question.
The last question is the militants in Libya, are they Libyans? And if they are Libyans, why are they the ones carrying guns and shooting fellow Libyans whilst Libyans are blaming the United States?
Yeah, most of them are Libyans, but years back we used to have a lot of fundamentalists and Islamic Muslim terrorists who came to the country, like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and established themselves here, but they are not very active nowadays, at least for the last 3 years. Why they are shooting? Because, of course, because of control and power. They want to have power and turf areas they control inside cities or outside cities, as well as free access to the wealth of the country. Don't forget, Libya is a very rich country, and that's simply the situation. They don't want anybody to push them around.
Thank you very much. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. Am I on to Madam Ireti?
Yes, you are, sir. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's your question, please?
Okay, my name is Barrister Peter Oku.
Okay, Barrister.
And I'm calling from Mendeburiland.
Okay, your question, sir.
Yeah, my question is, Madam, is that I don't know why Ghadaffi's son, would expect that after all what happened in Libya under his father, just like what happened in Nigeria under General Sani Abacha, then the son now thought that he will come and rule Libya again.
Okay, what is your question, sir? Yeah, that's a statement. What is your question?
My question is that the son ought to have. Why did the son want to come and rule Libya again?
Okay.
Why?
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Right, hello. Oh, I lost your call. Are you calling back so I can join both? Okay, here we go. Hello. Yes, go ahead.
Hello,
your name?
How are you, Ireti? How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Please ask your question, your name. My guest.
Your guest.
Thank you very much.
What is the assurance? What makes us think that what is happening in the Sahel is as a result of the problem in Libya?
Okay.
And again, the Sahel, those three states, those three countries, have they benefited being under Russia than being under France?
Okay. Thank you. Right, and I'm going to answer the last call if you come now, so I can put both of them to Dr. Fetouri. There, you're back. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, Yogi.
Good evening, Emmanuel.
Yeah. My question is number one. Trump seems to have given a nod to the deputy of Maduro because he gave the example of Libya. You know that Libya is in a mess because nobody was there to take over.
Mm-hmm.
Did Ghadaffi during his death add the deputy?
Okay.
Number two. Can your guest pinpoint a time? You know that because I won't say give me a timeline, but
quickly, Emmanuel. We don't have time. Mm-hmm.
That is in terms of having a structured leadership.
Okay, thank you. Right, there you go. Doc, I'm going to give you 2 minutes again to answer that because we literally only have 3 minutes left.
Okay. Well, Saif al-Islam never sought power. He did not go and register for presidential elections himself. He was pushed by his public base. People wanted him to run for the elections simply because of who's he, and simply because they believe in him. It's not his wish actually to run for president in Libya. So it's not his own desire, if you like. We already spoke for the second question. We already spoke about the Sahel and the possibility of the stabilization of the Sahel is very likely to continue as long as Libya is not settled, simply because Libya is very close and there's a huge quantity of arms and other things, available to terrorists, whether in Mali or Niger or Nigeria itself, or you name it. I did not, unfortunately, again, catch the last question.
The last question is, can you estimate a time when we can see a settled Libya? But I have one last question to add to that, if you could answer both of them in a minute, is talk to us about the number of people that turned up for Saif's funeral and how huge it was and what the significance of that is.
Well, it's actually beyond imagination. I never saw this kind of people. I don't have official figures or anything, but I think it's around 50,000 to some say even 1 million people. But it was a huge crowd, and Libya has never witnessed before. And what is the significance of that? I think that's a kind of referendum for two things. One thing is that we support Saif, that he enjoys a very public support, and as you can see in his funeral. And the other thing, people came also for the father, because we have to remember the grave of Gaddafi, the father, is still secret, state secret until today. We don't know where he is. So people came to pay their respect for the father and the son as well. And again, I did not catch the last.
It was. Can you estimate a time when we can perhaps look forward to a settled?
Difficult. Yeah, unfortunately, it's very difficult to really estimate will Libya become an independent sovereign state again. But I think it will not be, unfortunately, in my lifetime. It will continue to have some troubles as long as those people are around, and because the West would prefer kind of a very weak Libya. They would never accept somebody like Gaddafi again to come to power. And the situation on the ground, it's very likely that somebody like Gaddafi, the father or the son, will always have the potential to take power in the country. So it's a kind of very difficult, really, to pinpoint.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mustafa Fetouri. Forgive me, it's the second time you're joining us, not the first time. Thank you so much. And we always look forward to having you. Indeed, we must continue to talk about Africa.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me.
Have a wonderful weekend, sir.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
this Ramadan.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.